There's a situation that shows up in a lot of lives and almost nobody talks about it. It looks like a fear of abandonment. It looks like I am scared of being left. People talk about that one all the time. It's practically a cliche, but underneath it, there's something quieter, something nobody admits. It's not the fear of being left, it's the fear of being too much, too intense, too needy, too emotional, too complicated, too much to handle. And here's how the situation works: someone wants to be loved genuinely, they think about it, they hope for it, they've even reached for it. But somewhere along the way, they got the message that who they are at full volume is too much for people. Maybe it was a parent who couldn't handle their big feelings. Maybe it was a partner who pulled away when they got real. Maybe it was a friend who made them feel like their needs were a burden. It doesn't matter exactly where it came from. What matters is that they believed it, and they've been living by it ever since. So they learned to turn it down. They learned to monitor themselves. They learned to watch their own reactions, to apologize for their feelings before anyone could call them dramatic. They learned to shrink before someone else could tell them to. They learned to be easy, to be low maintenance, to be the person who never asks for too much, never needs too much, never feels too much. And it works. People like them. People stay. People say you're so easy to be around. And on the surface, that sounds like a compliment, but it's not. It's the sound of someone performing a smaller version of themselves so they won't be abandoned. Here's the part nobody says out loud. The fear of being too much isn't really about other people. It's about what you believe about yourself. You believe that if someone saw the full weight of you, the real intensity, the real needs, the real feelings, they'd leave. So you make sure they never see it. You leave first, in a way. You leave yourself before anyone else gets the chance to. And that's the trap of the situation. You think the shrinking is what keeps you safe. You think being easy is what earns you love. But the person who's always easy never lets anyone actually meet them. So they end up surrounded by people who love the performance and completely alone in the middle of it. Think about what the think about what that actually looks like in real life. You're in a relationship and someone asks you what's wrong and you say nothing because you don't want to be a burden. You're having a hard day and someone offers to help and you say I'm fine because you don't want to need too much. You're hurt by something someone did and you don't bring it up because you don't want to start a problem. You don't want to be too much. And every time you do that, every time you swallow the feeling, every time you say, I am fine when you're not, every time you shrink to keep the peace, you're not protecting the relationship. You're teaching the people around you that the real you doesn't exist. You're training them to love a version of you that isn't real, and then you wonder why you feel unseen, why you feel lonely even when you're not alone, why you feel like no one actually knows you because they don't. You never let them. The taboo truth is this: you can't be truly loved by someone you're performing for because they're not loving you. They're loving the version of you that's easy. And deep down you know that. So you never feel truly loved no matter how many people stay because the person they're staying for isn't the real you. And here's what the situation needs to hear: the fear of being too much is a lie, not because you're not intense, not because you don't have needs, not because you're not a lot sometimes. You are, but too much isn't a fact. It's a judgment you learned. Somewhere, someone made you feel like your feelings were a burden, like your needs were an inconvenience, like your intensity was something to apologize for, and you believed them, and you've been apologizing ever since. But here's the thing: the right person doesn't want the easy version of you. The right person wants the real version, the one with feelings, the one with needs, the one who's intense and complicated and sometimes a lot, because that's what love actually is. Not two people performing for each other, but two people being real with each other and staying anyway. So here's the uncomfortable work. You stop apologizing for your feelings. You stop monitoring yourself before someone else can. You stop shrinking to be palatable. You let yourself be a little too much on purpose, and you see what happens. You tell someone what you actually need. You let yourself feel something fully instead of clipping it down. You say, I'm not fine, and when you're not fine and you survive it. And here's what you'll find: the people who leave when you're real, they were never going to love the real you anyway. They were in love with the performance, and when the performance ended, so did their interest. That's not a loss, that's a filter. And the people who stay, they stay for the you that was there all along, the one you were hiding. The fear of being too much isn't protecting you, it's keeping you alone, because you can't be loved at full volume if you never let anyone hear you at full volume. You can't be known if you never let anyone see you. And you can't be truly loved by people who only ever met the smaller, safer, easier version of you. So be too much, be intense, be needy, be complicated, be real, and let the people who can handle it, the ones who were always meant to stay, because the love you're waiting for isn't waiting for you to be easy, it's waiting for you to be real.